The first time Harper Lane heard the name Warrindah Forest, it wasn't spoken like a place. It was spoken like a warning. She was in the university library, surrounded by dusty environmental journals, laminated maps, and a half-drunk coffee that had gone cold hours ago. Across the table, her supervisor, Dr. Mallory, tapped a finger on a printed satellite image as though it might bite her. "See this belt?" he said. "It's older growth, protected in parts, ignored in others. People don't go in unless they have a reason." Harper adjusted her glasses and leaned in. "That's exactly why I want to go." Dr. Mallory's eyes narrowed. "Your reason is research, nature surveys, microfauna sampling. Fine," he exhaled. "But your other reason is curiosity, and curiosity gets people hurt in places like this." Harper smiled, trying to keep it light. "It's a forest, not a horror film." Dr. Mallory stared at her for a long moment, then slid another paper across the table, an old article, clipped and scanned. The headline was blurred, but readable. "Two campers found disoriented, claim they followed a voice in the dark." Harper's smile faded. "Is this real?" "Local news," Dr. Mallory said. 10 years ago, and there are more." He stood gathering his papers. "If you're going, don't go alone. Don't go without a radio. Don't go without a plan." Harper looked down at the map again. Warrindah Forest sat like a dark bruise between towns, vast, thick, and strangely unlabeled in places. On the printed copy, the middle of the forest had a faint gray smear where the ink had failed, as if even the printer refused to define it. Still, Harper felt the pull. Some places called to people, and some places answered. The stream. 1. 4 friends, and 1 bad idea. By the time Harper convinced 3 friends to come with her, she'd rewritten her pitch so it sounded less like, "Let's walk into a forest with a creepy reputation," and more like, "Let's do a fun research adventure with camping." Her friends weren't just friends. They were rich. The kind of rich that made danger feel like something that happened to other people. Logan Pierce showed up first, wearing boots that looked like they'd never touched mud, and a grin that suggested the world existed for his amusement. "You sure there are snakes?" he asked. "Because I'd like to see one, preferably before it sees me." Ethan Ward arrived with a drone case, a power bank the size of a brick, and enough protein bars to survive a small war. "I'll check the signal maps," Ethan said immediately. "Network drops in the central belt. Might lose everything once we pass the outer trails." "That's fine," Logan said. "Nature detox." Noah Sinclair brought a camera and the kind of calm smile that made Harper trust him more than the others. Noah didn't talk too much. He observed, like he was always listening to something just behind the obvious sounds. And then there was Harper. Her backpack filled with notebooks, sample jars, a basic field microscope, and a stubborn feeling that she needed to see Warrindah with her own eyes. The plan was simple. Drive to the forest edge, hike to a marked clearing known locally as the Glass Flats, named for the quartz stones that glittered there. Camp 2 nights, collect samples, leave 2 nights. That was all. Not long enough for the forest to learn their names. 2. The last bar of signal. The road into Warrindah Forest grew narrower with every kilometer, as if the world behind them was closing its hand. Trees rose tall and close, their trunks dark with age. The air smelled damp and metallic, like rain that hadn't fallen yet. Logan drove, music blaring. Harper sat shotgun, watching the tree line. Ethan kept checking his phone. "Signal's dropping." Noah leaned back, camera resting on his lap. "Feels different here." "Different how?" Harper asked. Noah's eyes stayed on the window. "Like it's listening." Logan laughed. "It's a forest, mate." But even Logan lowered the music after a while, like some part of him knew it didn't belong. At the last small turnout before the trailhead, they stopped. A battered wooden sign leaned toward the road. Warrindah Forest Reserve. No service beyond this point. Stay on marked trails. Do not camp in unregistered clearings. Below the official text, someone had carved another message. Older, deeper, done with anger or fear. "If you hear your name, don't answer." Ethan snapped a photo. "Creepy locals, always trying to mess with tourists?" Harper didn't laugh. Noah didn't laugh either. He stared at the carving like it stared back. The trail started friendly enough. Birds chirped, leaves rustled, sunlight spilled through gaps in the canopy. But the deeper they walked, the more the light changed. Not darker, not brighter, just wrong. It turned thin and pale, like it had been filtered through something tired. Harper marked GPS points, took photos of plant clusters, collected soil samples. Ethan flew his drone briefly until it disappeared above the canopy. "It's still transmitting," Ethan said, watching his controller screen. "But the image is glitching." On the screen, the forest from above looked like a moving carpet of green. Then the feed stuttered. For a fraction of a second, the camera showed something else. Something pale among the trees, a shape too straight to be a tree trunk, too tall to be an animal. Then it snapped back to normal. Ethan frowned. "Probably interference." Logan leaned in. "What was that? Rewind." Ethan shook his head. "Live feed only?" Noah lifted his camera. "I didn't like that." Harper tried to keep her voice steady. "It's fine. Maybe a dead tree? A white trunk? Eucalyptus can..." She stopped, because ahead of them, just off the trail, was a tree. Its trunk was pale, but not eucalyptus pale. Bone pale, and carved into it, fresh, deep, and clean, was a single word. Harper. Harper froze. Logan looked at her, grin fading. "Okay, who's messing with us?" Ethan swung around. "Did you tell anyone we were coming?" "No," Harper whispered. Noah stepped closer to the tree, studying the carving. "This isn't old. The sap hasn't even bled yet." Harper's mouth went dry. The forest was quiet suddenly, like it had been holding its breath, and then, very softly, from somewhere deeper in the trees, a voice spoke. Not loud, not clear, just enough to make the skin tighten. "Harper!" Harper's heart hit her ribs. Logan barked, "Hello!" Noah snapped, "Don't!" Logan turned. "What?" Noah's eyes were wide. "The sign. If you hear your name, don't answer." Logan swallowed, suddenly less amused. Ethan tried to laugh, but it sounded wrong. "It's probably someone camping out there." Harper didn't move, because the voice hadn't sounded like someone calling from far away. It had sounded like someone speaking right behind her ear. They reached the glass flats near late afternoon. The clearing was real, exactly where the map said. Pale quartz stones scattered across open ground, catching the faint sunlight and throwing it back in cold flashes. The trees around the clearing formed a tight ring, like an audience. Harper forced herself to focus on the practical things: tents, firewood, food. Ethan set up a small portable radio. "We've got emergency frequencies, but no signal for calls." Logan tried to lighten the mood. "We're basically pioneers." Noah didn't reply. He kept looking at the tree line. like he was waiting for something to step out. When the sun finally dropped, the forest changed again. Night in Warrindah didn't arrive gently. It fell. The darkness thickened between the trees, swallowing distance. Sounds grew sharper, the crack of twigs, the scrape of leaves, the occasional far-off call of something that didn't sound like an owl. They ate in silence. At some point, Logan threw a quartz stone across the clearing. It clinked against another stone. "Just rocks," he said, as if repeating it could make it true. Harper checked her notes. Noah clicked his camera off. "I keep feeling like we're being watched," Ethan scoffed. "By what? Kangaroos." Noah's gaze didn't leave the trees. "By something that knows we're here." Logan rolled his eyes. "Mate, you've seen too many ghost vids." But Logan's laugh was thin, and the fire, though it burned bright, didn't feel warm enough. Harper woke up in the middle of the night. She didn't know why at first. No nightmare, no sound, just that sudden, animal certainty. Something is wrong. She lay still in her sleeping bag, listening. The forest outside was quiet. Too quiet. No insects, no distant birds. Then she heard it. Footsteps, slow, careful, crunching on quartz stones. Someone was walking in the clearing. Harper's breath caught. Logan? Ethan? Noah? But the footsteps weren't heading toward the fire or the bags. They moved in a circle, around the tents. One step. Pause. Step. Pause. Like whoever, or whatever, was out there was counting. Harper reached for her flashlight with trembling fingers. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice barely louder than a whisper slid through the tent fabric like smoke. "Harper." Harper's blood turned ice. It wasn't far away. It was right outside. She clamped a hand over her mouth to stop herself from answering by instinct. Her mind screamed, "Don't reply!" The voice came again, closer to the tent wall. "Harper, come out! I can't see." Harper squeezed her eyes shut. The voice sounded wrong, like someone trying to imitate what a human voice should be. Like a radio tuned slightly off frequency. A soft scratching followed, like fingernails on fabric. Then a slow drag along the tent seam. Harper froze so hard, it felt like she'd stopped breathing. In the next tent, Ethan suddenly shouted, "Who's there?" The scratching stopped instantly. A pause. Then, soft and amused, Ethan's own voice answered, perfectly mimicked. "Who's there?" Silence. Ethan's breath hitched. "That's not..." Logan's tent unzipped violently. "Stop messing around!" Noah yelled. "Zip it! Stay inside!" But Logan was already stepping out. Harper heard his boots crunch on quartz. He shone his torch around the clearing. "Hello? You think this is funny?" The flashlight beam swept over stones, tents, trees. Nothing. Logan's voice trembled. "Ethan? Noah?" Ethan replied from his tent. "I'm here," Noah replied. "Here." Logan stood alone in the clearing, light shaking. Then a sound came from the trees. A laugh. Not a human laugh. A wet, broken sound like a bird choking. Logan stumbled backward. "What the..." His torch beam caught something at the tree line. A shape. Tall? Too tall. Standing between the trees like it belonged there. Logan's breathing turned ragged. "Guys, there's someone!" The shape leaned forward slightly, as if curious. And then, in Logan's exact voice, it said, "Guys, there's someone!" Logan screamed. He ran back toward the tents, tripping on quartz. The moment he reached his tent, the forest sound returned all at once. Insects, leaves, distant calls, like someone had turned the world back on. For a long time, nobody spoke. Noah finally whispered. "Now you understand." Ethan's voice shook. "What the hell was that?" Noah answered very quietly. "A thing that hears you." They didn't sleep after that. The sun rose weak and pale, like it didn't want to look at the clearing. Logan insisted on leaving immediately, but Harper, trembling, exhausted, needed to retrieve the sample gear and log the coordinates properly. She hated herself for it, but the part of her that had come for research clung to order, like a drowning person clung to a rope. "We pack now," Logan said. "We go." Ethan was checking his radio. "Nothing, just static, like heavy static." Noah walked to the edge of the clearing. His eyes narrowed. Something's wrong. Harper followed his gaze. On the quartz stones near where Logan had stood last night, there were footprints, not human, too long, too narrow, and the toes were wrong, like someone had made them from memory. The prints formed a circle around the tents. Then Harper saw something else. At the far side of the clearing near a tree, something dark on the stones. A backpack. Ethan's drone case. Ethan frowned. "I didn't leave that there." They walked toward it together, slow and unwilling. The case was open. The drone was gone. And beside it lay Ethan's phone, screen shattered like it had been crushed in a fist. Ethan swallowed hard. Okay, we're leaving." Noah glanced at Harper. "Now." They began packing in frantic silence. Then Logan, moving around the back of his tent, suddenly stopped. "Guys," he said, voice thin. Where's Ethan?" Ethan snapped. "I'm right." He stopped. Because Logan wasn't looking at him. He was looking behind the tents, at the place where Ethan had gone a minute earlier to grab something. Harper's stomach dropped. They rushed around the tents, and there, half hidden among the stones and grass, was Ethan's body. Not torn, not bloody, just wrong. His eyes were open. His mouth hung slightly as if he'd tried to scream and forgot how. And his skin. Harper couldn't breathe when she saw it. His skin had turned pale in patches, like something had drained the life from him in uneven waves. Noah grabbed Harper's arm. "Don't touch him!" Logan backed away, shaking. "He was just here! He was just..." Harper's voice barely worked. "What did this?" Noah stared into the trees. The forest was quiet again, and then, from somewhere deep, a soft voice murmured, "Ethan." It sounded like Ethan, but Ethan was dead. Logan clapped hands over his ears, screaming, "Stop!" They didn't pack properly after that. They grabbed whatever they could, abandoning half their gear. Logan wanted to run straight back the way they came. Harper agreed. Noah didn't argue, because every second they stayed felt like inviting the forest to finish the job. They moved fast, stumbling along the trail. Harper's lungs burned. Logan kept glancing back, like he expected the trees to follow. Noah stayed behind them, eyes scanning the undergrowth, his camera forgotten. For a while, it seemed like they might make it. They passed familiar markers, a bent signpost, a fallen branch shaped like a hook. Harper began to believe, against all logic, that it was over. Then the trail changed. It didn't fork, it didn't vanish, it simply shifted. A tree that hadn't been there yesterday stood in the middle of the path. The bark was pale, bone pale, and carved into it, in deep fresh grooves, was another word. Noah. Noah stared at it. Logan whispered, "It's marking us." Harper's hands shook. "How is this possible?" Noah's voice was distant. "Because it's not a forest, not just a forest." They stepped around the tree and continued. But the air grew colder, the light grew thinner, and the sounds of birds disappeared again. Then Logan stopped. "Do you hear that?" Harper listened. At first, she heard nothing. Then, faintly, she heard footsteps behind them. Not running, walking. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause. Harper's skin prickled. "Don't look back." Logan did anyway. His face went white. He whispered. "It's right there." Harper forced herself to glance back. Between the trees, something tall moved, not fully visible, just glimpses. A pale limb, a shadowed torso, a head that seemed too smooth. It didn't chase them. It didn't need to. It was certain they weren't leaving. Then, a voice, Harper's own voice, called out from ahead on the trail. "Logan! Harper! This way!" Harper froze, because that voice had come from in front of them. But Harper was right there. Noah grabbed her shoulder hard. "Don't follow voices!" Logan looked torn, panicked. "But it sounded like you!" "That's the point," Noah said. "It's splitting us." Then the voice changed. It became Ethan's voice. "Guys, I'm hurt! Help!" Logan's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan!" Harper swallowed bile. "He's dead!" The voice became softer. "Logan, please!" Logan took one step forward without thinking. Noah shoved him back. "No!" Logan shouted. "What if it's real?" Noah's jaw clenched. "It isn't. It's bait. It wants you alone." Harper's voice shook. "Keep moving." They ran. Behind them, the crunching footsteps continued. And then, in Logan's ear, very close, a whisper slid in. "Logan, I'm behind you." Logan screamed and sprinted, breathing ragged. Harper tried to keep up. Noah stayed close. They burst through thick brush, and the world opened into another clearing. Not the glass flats, a different clearing, wider, darker. And in the center stood something Harper could not understand at first. A tower, not a modern tower. A rusted metal structure like an old communications mast. Half collapsed, crooked, swallowed by vines. Ethan had said the signal dropped in the central belt because the forest had its own signal, its own frequency, and it didn't belong to humans. They didn't pack properly after that. They grabbed whatever they could, abandoning half their gear. Logan wanted to run straight back the way they came. Harper agreed. Noah didn't argue, because every second they stayed felt like inviting the forest to finish the job. They moved fast, stumbling along the trail. Harper's lungs burned. Logan kept glancing back like he expected the trees to follow. Noah stayed behind them, eyes scanning the undergrowth, his camera forgotten. For a while, it seemed like they might make it. They passed familiar markers, a bent signpost, a fallen branch shaped like a hook. Harper began to believe, against all logic, that it was over. Then the trail changed. It didn't fork, it didn't vanish, it simply shifted. A tree that hadn't been there yesterday stood in the middle of the path. The bark was pale, bone pale, and carved into it in deep, fresh grooves was another word. Noah. Noah stared at it. Logan whispered, "It's marking us." Harper's hands shook. "How is this possible?" Noah's voice was distant. "Because it's not a forest. Not just a forest." They stepped around the tree and continued, but the air grew colder. The light grew thinner, and the sounds of birds disappeared again. Then Logan stopped. "Do you hear that?" Harper listened. At first, she heard nothing. Then, faintly, she heard footsteps behind them. Not running, walking. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause. Harper's skin prickled. "Don't look back." Logan did anyway. His face went white. "It's," he whispered. "It's right there." Harper forced herself to glance back. Between the trees, something tall moved. Not fully visible, just glimpses. A pale limb, a shadowed torso, a head that seemed too smooth. It didn't chase them. It didn't need to. It was certain they weren't leaving. Then, a voice, Harper's own voice, called out from ahead on the trail. "Logan! Harper! This way!" Harper froze, because that voice had come from in front of them. But Harper was right there. Noah grabbed her shoulder hard. "Don't follow voices!" Logan looked torn, panicked. "But it sounded like you!" "That's the point," Noah said. "It's splitting us." Then the voice changed. It became Ethan's voice. "Guys, I'm hurt! Help!" Logan's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan?" Harper swallowed bile. "He's dead!" The voice became softer. "Logan, please!" Logan took one step forward without thinking. Noah shoved him back. "No!" Logan shouted. "What if it's real?" Noah's jaw clenched. "It isn't. It's bait. It wants you alone." Harper's voice shook. "Keep moving." They ran. Behind them, the crunching footsteps continued. And then, in Logan's ear, very close, a whisper slid in. "Logan, I'm behind you!" Logan screamed and sprinted, breathing ragged. Harper tried to keep up. Noah stayed close. They burst through thick brush. And the world opened into another clearing. Not the glass flats. A different clearing, wider, darker. And in the center stood something Harper could not understand at first. A tower. Not a modern tower. A rusted metal structure like an old communications mast. Half collapsed, crooked, swallowed by vines. Ethan had said the signal dropped in the central belt because the forest had its own signal, its own frequency, and it didn't belong to humans. Dachu 8. The signal tower. The tower hummed, not loudly, but Harper felt it in her teeth, in her skull, a low vibration like distant machinery. Ethan's radio, still clipped to his bag, Harper didn't even remember taking it, began to crackle. Static. Then a voice. Clear. Too clear. It spoke through the radio like a call from another room. "Harper, come closer." Harper staggered, clutching her head. "No." Logan stared at the tower like a hypnotized person. "We can call for help." Noah grabbed Logan's shirt. "No, that's not help." The radio crackled again. Now it was Ethan. "Guys, I'm cold." Logan sobbed. "Stop it. Stop it." Harper's eyes locked on the tower base. There were things there. At first, she thought they were rocks. Then she realized they were small ones, animal ones, and her stomach turned. Not all of them were small. Noah's voice dropped. "This is where it feeds." Logan's knees buckled. "We're going to die." "No," Noah said. "We're going to move." He pulled them away from the tower, but the air around it seemed thicker, like walking through water. Harper felt her thoughts slow. Her fear dulled into a strange, numb curiosity. She hated it. She hated that part of her wanted to step closer. The radio spoke again, gentle as a lullaby. "Harper, you wanted to know, didn't you?" Harper's lips parted. Noah slapped the radio off her bag hard. It hit the ground, still crackling. The tower hummed louder. The trees around the clearing seemed to lean in. And then the footsteps stopped behind them. A pause, a silence so heavy Harper felt it pressing down. Then the thing stepped into the clearing. Harper's mind tried to reject it. It was tall, taller than any human. Its limbs looked like they'd been assembled in the dark. Its skin was pale, stretched smooth, with no clear texture like real flesh. Its face, if it was a face, had no eyes. Just a smooth surface, except for a narrow slit where a mouth might be. And from that slit, voices leaped. Not one voice, Many. Layered. Harper heard Ethan. She heard Harper. She heard Logan. She heard her mother. She heard a child crying. It tilted its head toward them. The slit widened, and it spoke with perfect calm in Dr. Mallory's voice. "You shouldn't have come." Logan bolted. He ran toward the opposite tree line. "Logan!" Harper screamed. Noah sprinted after him. Harper tried to follow, but the humming hit her like a physical force. Her vision blurred. She stumbled, fell hard onto stones. Pain shot through her ankle. She screamed. The thing didn't rush. It didn't need to. It moved like time belonged to it. Harper saw Noah grab Logan at the tree line, dragging him back. But Logan was panicking, thrashing. I can't. Then Logan heard something in the trees, a whisper in his own voice. "Logan, this way." Logan turned his head, and for one fatal second, he stopped fighting Noah. He listened. Noah shouted, "Don't!" Logan ripped free and ran into the trees. Noah chased him, disappearing into shadows. Harper tried to stand, but her ankle gave out. Sharp agony. The thing took a slow step toward her. The hum grew louder. Harper crawled backward, dragging herself. "Please," she gasped, then clamped her mouth shut, terrified that pleading might count as answering. The thing leaned down. The slit widened, and it whispered her name so softly, it felt like a kiss. "Harper." Harper squeezed her eyes shut and shook her head violently. A sudden crack rang out in the clearing. A flash. Noah burst back into the clearing, face streaked with dirt, eyes wild, holding a flare he must have grabbed from Logan's emergency kit. He fired it. Red light exploded against the darkness. The thing jerked back, hissing, not loud, but like the forest itself recoiling. Noah dragged Harper up, half carrying her. "Move!" Harper screamed in pain as he hauled her along. The flare burned bright, and in that light, Harper saw something she wished she hadn't. The tower base had not just bones. It had objects. A phone, a broken watch, a university ID card, old, weathered, names she didn't know, people who had come to Warrindah before, people who had never left. Noah shoved Harper forward. "Don't look!" But Harper had already seen. The forest didn't just kill. It collected. It learned voices. It learned names. It learned how to call you out of your own mind. They limped and ran through the trees, Noah supporting Harper, her uncle screaming at every step. Behind them, the humming faded. But the forest didn't. The voices followed, sometimes close, sometimes far, sometimes identical to their own thoughts. They found the trail, real trail by accident, bursting out onto it like drowning people breaking surface. Noah looked back. "Logan!" Harper's chest tightened. "We have to go back." Noah's eyes filled with grief. "We can't. Not now." Then from the trees to their left, Logan's voice screamed, "Noah! Help me!" Noah froze. Harper's heart shattered. "That's him!" Noah's face twisted in agony. He took one step toward the sound. Then the voice changed mid-scream, glitching, warping. "Noah! Help me! Help me! Help me!" Noah stopped, because the scream had become layered. 2 Logans, 3, like a recording skipping. Harper sobbed. "Please!" Noah's jaw clenched. "If he's alive, it wants me to go in. If he's dead, it wants me to go in." Another scream, sharper, shorter, then silence. Noah staggered, like the sound had punched him. He grabbed Harper and forced himself forward. "I'm sorry." Harper's tears blurred the trail. They ran. And in the distance, somewhere behind the trees, something laughed with Logan's mouth. It took hours that felt like days. Harper's ankle swelled, her pain spreading up her leg. Noah's breathing grew ragged. At one point, he was limping too. his calf torn by thorny vines when he'd chased Logan. They rationed water. They didn't speak unless necessary, because every time they spoke, the forest repeated their words back to them in slightly wrong tones. At one point, Harper thought she heard her phone ring. She didn't even have signal. The sound came from deep in the trees, a perfect imitation, repeating over and over. "Ring, ring, ring." Noah covered his ears. "Don't listen," Harper whispered. "It's trying to keep us here." Noah nodded grimly. It's broadcasting." They reached a bend where the trail should have opened toward the outer reserve. Instead, they found a new wooden signpost that hadn't been there before. Fresh wood. Fresh paint. It read, "Welcome back." Harper's throat tightened. "No!" Noah stared at it, trembling. And then the sign's letters began to peel, not physically, but in Harper's perception, like her brain couldn't agree on what it said. For a second, she thought it read, "Welcome home." Noah grabbed her face gently, forcing her to look at him. "Don't look at it too long." Harper blinked hard. "What is it?" Noah swallowed. "A lure, a lie." They pushed forward. The forest fought them in quiet ways, paths that bent, landmarks that shifted, shadows that seemed to move against the sun. And then Harper heard her own voice in her head, perfectly clear. "Stop. Rest. You've done enough." Harper's knees buckled. Noah caught her. "Harper, stay with me!" Harper sobbed. "I'm so tired." Noah's voice was fierce. "It wants you tired. It wants you to stop." Harper forced herself upright, every part of her shaking. They kept moving, because in Warrindah Forest, standing still was permission. When Harper finally saw the edge of the forest, she didn't believe it. Sunlight looked normal again. The air warmed. Birds chirped like they hadn't been silenced. Noah stumbled onto the gravel turnout first, then turned back for Harper. Harper limped out of the trees and collapsed onto the ground, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Noah dropped beside her, head in his hands. They were alive. They were out. But neither of them smiled, because behind them, in the shadowed tree line, Harper saw a pale shape, far back, barely visible, standing perfectly still as if watching them leave. And as she stared, the shape raised a hand, not waving, not threatening, just acknowledging. Like it had learned something, like it had let them go. For now. Noah looked up, saw Harper's face, and followed her gaze. His expression turned cold. He grabbed Harper's arm and forced her to look away. "Don't give it your attention," Harper whispered, trembling. "It knows us." Noah replied, voice flat with terror and certainty. "It knows our voices." They crawled into the car. Logan's keys were still in the ignition where he'd left them. That made Harper cry again. Noah started the engine with shaking hands. The radio turned on automatically. For a moment it was normal. Music, a presenter talking about weather. Then it crackled. A pause. And then a voice that made Harper's blood turn to ice. "Harper, don't go." It sounded like Logan. Harper screamed and slammed the radio off. Noah hit the accelerator. The tires spat gravel. They didn't slow down until the trees thinned into open road. Even then, Harper kept glancing back, expecting the forest to move, expecting the tower's hum to follow. But only wind followed them. Only silence. The normal world felt like a lie. Police searched for Ethan and Logan. They found the abandoned campsite. They found scattered gear. They found quartz stones arranged in a circle. They found carved trees, but they didn't find bodies. Not Ethan's, not Logan's. The official story became predictable. exposure, animals, disorientation. The kind of story adults told themselves because the truth was worse. Harper's ankle healed slowly, leaving her with a slight limp that never fully went away. Noah's calf scar stayed as a jagged white mark, like the forest had signed its name into him. They didn't talk much after, not because they didn't care, but because every time they tried to explain what happened, words failed. How could you describe a thing that stole voices? How could you explain a forest that learned your name and used it like a hook? Harper quit her research project. Dr. Mallory didn't ask why. He simply looked at her face, saw something there, and nodded once like he'd always known it would end this way. For months, Harper avoided silence. She slept with music playing. She kept lights on. She stopped answering unknown numbers. Because sometimes, late at night, her phone would buzz, no caller ID, no signal bar. And when she let it ring, trembling, the voicemail would appear empty. Yet she would swear she could hear something underneath the quiet. Breathing, a hum, a whisper. Her name. 1 year later, Harper and Noah met once. Not to talk, not to heal, just because some wounds demanded witnesses. They sat in a busy cafe where people laughed too loudly and the world felt safe by force. Harper's hands shook as she stirred her coffee. Noah didn't drink anything, he just watched the door. Harper finally asked, voice barely audible, "Do you ever hear them?" Noah nodded slowly. "Sometimes, in my dreams. Sometimes, in recordings." Harper's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" Noah reached into his pocket and pulled out a small SD card. Harper stared. "From your camera?" Noah nodded. "I thought the camera died in the forest, but I checked the files later." Harper's mouth went dry. "What's on it?" Noah's eyes looked older than they should have. "Audio," Harper whispered. "Logan?" Noah didn't answer. He slid the SD card across the table. Harper didn't touch it. The cafe felt too loud suddenly, as if the sound was trying to drown something out. Harper forced the question out. "Why bring it?" Noah's voice was quiet. "Because it's getting stronger." Harper's blood went cold. "What is?" Noah leaned forward. His pupils seemed too wide. "The signal, the hum, is not only in Warrindah anymore." Harper's hands gripped the edge of the table. Noah continued, each word heavy. "Last week I heard my name. In my apartment. No wind, no trees. Just my name. Like it was right behind me." Harper's breath shook. "Noah." Noah's voice cracked. "I think it followed us. Not physically. Not like an animal." He glanced around the cafe. People smiling, phones glowing, screens everywhere. Then he whispered the sentence that made Harper's heart stop. "I think he learned how to travel through signals." Harper's phone, lying face up on the table, lit up. No vibration, no sound. Just the screen turning on by itself. A notification appeared. No app icon, no number, just text. Unknown message. "Hello, Harper?" Harper screamed and shoved the phone away. It clattered onto the cafe floor. People turned. Noah stood quickly. "We have to go." Harper shook so hard she couldn't stand. Noah grabbed her arm and pulled her up. As they rushed out, Harper glanced back at her phone on the floor. The screen was still lit. The message had changed. It now read, "You left 2 of us. We didn't leave you." Harper's vision went dark at the edges. Noah dragged her outside into the daylight, but even in the bright sun, Harper could hear it, faint, barely there. A low hum, like distant machinery, like a tower in the heart of a forest, broadcasting, waiting, learning. And somewhere behind the normal sounds of the city, in the static between signals, A voice whispered softly with Logan's mouth, "Harper, don't ignore me." Harper didn't answer. She didn't even breathe, because she remembered the carving on the sign. "If you hear your name, don't answer." And now, wherever there was a signal, wherever there was sound, Warrindah could call. And one day, when she was tired enough, lonely enough, curious enough, it would finally hear her answer back. "If you want, I can also